Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.
All right, well, welcome to Getting to Know You. Today we're going to be talking about Albany Civic Theater, and this May they're going to be doing Midsummer Night's Dream. We have with us Carol King, the director of the play. I don't know, are you still on the board or something at all?
Yes,
okay.
Indeed.
And Ashiya Stroud, who's playing
Hippolyta.
Hippolyta, okay. Before we start, I just want to mention really quickly, Albany Civic Theater has been in our area since 1955. They've been over at their location, 235 2nd Avenue, the old firehouse, since 1964. So most people watching will know where it is. We'll have it on the screen, Albany Civic Theater, and you can go there. So, Carol, you've been with Albany Civic for how long? I think.
Well, I've been on the board for more than a decade.
Okay.
I've been with Albany Civic Theater for probably 25 years.
Okay, so you've been, that's right, I remember from last time. And you also review plays for the Times Union, is it? Or
Schenectady
Gazette, I'm sorry.
It's actually the Daily Gazette.
The Daily
now.
Gazette, okay. So those of you watching, you may know Carol's reviews. So Carol, tell us, you've directed many plays at Albany Civic. How did you choose doing Midsummer Night's Dream?
Well, I think it's one of Shakespeare's most accessible plays. Yeah. It can be an awful lot of fun, and I certainly wanted to please our audiences, and encourage them to come out for Shakespeare.
Well, this is probably a good one for people if they've never seen Shakespeare, or if they're timid of Shakespeare. But it's really sometimes in the library students come up to me and they say, "Do you have the Shakespeare play in modern English?" But I always say, they're in modern English.
Yeah.
But how do you approach directing this? This play is written in the 1590s. So even though it's through history been performed millions of times, how do you approach something so, in some ways, so familiar, obviously, but in some ways, maybe not for the people in it or people coming?
Well, I think you have to be very open to the actors' ideas. There are 25 actors, and there are lots of children in the play. So it's family oriented, and I think you approach it by having a good solid vision, but being open enough to accept what the actors are bringing to their roles.
Okay, so, and have they given you a lot of ideas already?
Oh yeah. We've had a wonderful time with it. It's a very sparkly production.
Now, when you said you have a lot of kids in it, you have a lot of kids in the Fairyland part?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
And it's oriented toward the family.
Okay.
Family viewing.
So you're encouraging if kids to come to this?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Well, this play is going to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, all the first 3 weekends of May, 6th, 7th, 8th, 13th, 14th, and 15th, 20, 21, and 22. So, and this show will be on all during May. So you think kids coming to this will have no problem understanding the...
I think they will have no problem whatsoever. I taught this play. I'm a professor at Sage College of Albany, and I tried not to be too academic, to let the ideas flow freely. When you teach a play, it's a little different than when you direct a play, because this has got to be theater friendly, audience friendly, and I believe it is.
Okay. Well, it is a play that I've seen it many times myself. You can have a lot of madcap stuff going on if you
absolutely, and
you want.
That's one of the reasons I chose it, because it is so much fun.
All right, so now we have one of the actors here, Ashiya Stroud. Did I say your name right?
Yes, you did. Very good.
Okay, so you're playing Hippolyta.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that character so people can...
Well, she is Queen of the Amazons. She's a very tough, very, my way or the highway type of woman. And she falls in love with Theseus, Duke of Athens. And that's very unusual for Amazons, because basically they just use men for breeding purposes only. But she puts aside all that and she says, I'm in love with this person, I'm going to marry this person.
Okay, that's right. I should say this will be good for families if they're going to come. There's 4 different couples that go on, or that are in the play, and of course there's all kinds of mistakes made and intermingling, and the eye drops that make a mistake, or we can talk a little bit about that. But Ashiya, what is your training in? Did you go to school for acting, for theater?
I did do a few classes in high school. I took an acting class, an acting workshop at Hudson Valley. Sometimes I take a few classes through Schenectady College, just acting workshops generally.
Have you been in a Shakespeare play before?
No, this is my very first Shakespeare play.
Well, that would be a good. How do you, have you been in plays before other than Shakespeare?
Yes, I have.
So how do you approach being in a Shakespeare play than other plays? Or do you change your approach, or is it just, do you do anything different because of the language, or do you just?
Yes, I do. Since this is Shakespeare, I definitely had to familiarize myself with the language. Well, it is a different language of its own. I'm used to modern English.
It is modern English.
Well, yeah, technically, yeah.
So, have you found it? What other plays have you been in before this one? What kind of plays have you been in?
I've done comedy.
Okay.
I did a play called Arsenic and Old Lace for our own productions.
Okay, now so far, Carol's already told me you've been rehearsing and you're getting ready.
Yes.
What are you finding about this? Do you have any things you like about it, something you don't like? If you find things harder than when Arsenic and Old Lace, or? Not
just the lines really. Just it's Shakespearean work, so it's just I find myself wanting to do my best because it's so new to me.
Yeah.
So of course I'm just I'm very a perfectionist sort of when it comes to my lines and what I'm learning.
Okay, so Carol, how's Ashiya doing in the rehearsal so far?
How am I doing?
Good question.
Ashiya is doing beautifully. She and Chaz Treadwell, who plays Theseus, are an excellent couple.
I've seen Chaz in many things.
Yes.
He'd be a good, he's kind of kingly.
Yes, very kingly.
Well, the Duke is just next door to a prince, so he has to be, and they are very royal. They are a very royal couple, and yet their playfulness comes out. The playfulness between them does come out.
And so now the part of the play, a lot of the play takes place in a forest. I know that Albany Civic isn't the biggest theater. How are you doing the forest part?
Well, we have a very, very talented set designer, Rich Montina, and a very talented lighting designer, David Queso. And these two men have just created an absolutely beautiful set that defines the forest and defines the court world. So, and they do it beautifully. Okay,
very good. So, all right, now we're going to talk to one of the other actors in the play, and we'll be right back. Okay, now we're back with another of the actors in Midsummer Night's Dream. We have Kevin McNamara, who's playing Peter Quince, so welcome.
Thank you.
So, Peter Quince is one of the rude mechanicals, but I mean, why don't you explain what that means? You can,
I like the term rude mechanicals. There's a group of men who are laborers, I guess you could call them, would be a common term, who want to put on a play for the Duke and the Duchess for their wedding. And the comedy comes out in that they really don't know what they're doing. So,
it's a play within a play.
It's the play within the play, right.
And then these guys don't really know anything about theater.
They have nothing about theater, but they think they do. And that the humor is that they're malaprops, they're misspoken words, they're misinterpretations of everything, and trying to put it together. And
that is always the fun. That is always sort of the fun part. One of the funniest parts of the plays, and when these guys rehearse, is very funny. But then when they actually do the
the rehearsal itself is funny, and then when they perform something completely different from what they rehearsed. By the way,
is there any? Is it just like when you rehearse when you're doing the play itself?
We don't laugh as much in the actual rehearsals, but what I found was reading Shakespeare more closely is finding out really how funny these characters were. Because, you know, sometimes it's tough when you hear the language of Shakespeare,
Yeah.
but a couple of readings through, you go, this is really situation comedy of its time.
Yeah.
It's just as silly today as it was then.
Well, one of the problems from reading it, you know, plays aren't made to be read, and you're reading something, and you may not have the pauses or the stops or the, you know, you don't just read it all the way through. There may be a 20-line thing that could take 5-10 minutes to really,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
is that, I don't know, Carol, when you direct people doing Shakespeare, they may have not been in Shakespeare before. How do you got to sort of, I don't want to say explain it all, but how do you, do you read it, do you read it different ways to see how it?
Well, of course, there are certain times when you use one inflection or another, and actors have their own ways of doing their parts. But no, it's elevated speech, but it is very conversational.
Mm-hmm.
It's poetic. The words are very carefully chosen, but I encourage people to speak conversationally if they can. Obviously, when someone is making a pronouncement, which Quince often does.
That's right. Quince is the guy who's he's in charge of the little. Okay, that's
He's the carpenter, but he really wants to direct. But he really doesn't know how to direct.
Now, have you been in a Shakespeare play before?
I was in one other, The Tempest,
Okay.
at Schenectady Civic Theater
Okay.
about 4 years ago, and I had a small part in there. Both times, that one and this one are what I consider small parts where learning the language wasn't too hard.
See, and what part were you in The Tempest?
Antonio, one of the evil characters,
well, that's
trying to
kind of that's not a small part.
well, I didn't have to learn, volumes of verse.
Now, what are you finding as someone who you've been in other kinds of plays many times?
Yeah,
before.
lots of plays
So,
in the area.
what are you finding now, having this part in Shakespeare? Are you finding?
Well, the two kinds of things you read in Shakespeare are the prose and, is it called the verse? The parts that rhyme? The verse is easier to remember, but it doesn't always make as much sense. The prose is like just normal talking, but it's harder to learn or harder to remember because it doesn't rhyme. Yeah. So once you've got the prose part, it's just like conversation. Yeah, and it's quite humorous. Okay. The verse rhymed and usually go on for a long time,
Right.
Yeah.
but easier to remember. But it has a nice sound to it, doesn't it?
Yes.
Now, are there other Albany Civic regular? Who's part of your crew that's doing the Bottom?
Help me out if I forget. Chris Foster
Okay.
plays Nick Bottom, who thinks he's a great actor.
Yes.
Denise Cross. We have some women playing men's parts.
Oh, okay.
But
I know. Well, yeah, I didn't. You have a female Puck coming up.
that's right. That's right.
Judy Spivak.
Okay.
Yeah.
Meg is.
Yes.
All right.
what's-
So you have. It's going to 2 men and 3 women. Okay. That's.
Some men, but I think
that's
they're
different.
going to be dressed as men.
Okay.
One of the
Well,
lines.
they'll have the rude mechanical
That's right. I
clothing
guess it
on.
doesn't-
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of them says he has a beard coming in.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
So let's see. What was I going to ask you? So are you enjoying being in the?
I'm
being in
loving
Shakespeare as opposed to some of your other things you've been in before?
Oh, it's a fun challenge.
Okay.
It's a fun change.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And are you part of the Albany Civic company or?
Not on the board, but yes, I've been. This is my 4th play with them.
Okay.
I love doing plays there.
Okay, very good. All right. What you were going
I was just going to say, Kevin played in Inherit the Wind. He
Inherit the
played the
Wind.
reporter. What was his name?
Hornbeck.
Hornbeck.
Okay.
Yeah.
the part that?
The Gene Kelly
Gene
part
Kelly,
of the
Yeah,
movie.
that's sort of the
Yeah.
pompous, cynical character.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. So, all right, now we're going to be joined by another one of the actors in a second here. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Now we're talking with Juliet King, who is Carol's daughter. She's playing Puck. Now, are you, Juliet, is this your first time in a Shakespeare play? Or?
I've done a few.
Okay. Now, before we started, I said to you, I very rarely see a female Puck, and you said women play Puck all the time. So
Well, all the time. It's about half the time that I see
Okay,
that
really?
there is a female Puck.
Okay.
It's not uncommon.
It's not uncommon. Now, why don't you tell people watching, Puck is very impish, kind of mischievous character. I've seen it played all different. I've seen Midsummer many times. I've seen it played a lot of different ways. So what do you? But tell us about the character first, and then you can. tell us maybe what your approach to it.
Sure. Puck is mischievous. She's an imp. She enjoys just messing with people in a lighthearted, fun kind of way. She does no harm, no real harm, anyhow, and it all resolves itself. But
she does the she does all the bidding of
Oberon.
Of Oberon, that's right. Okay,
Yes,
so
King of the Fairies.
So now, how are the rehearsals going? Are you guys having? It sounds like, from not talking to all three of you, it sounds like you guys are having fun.
A great time. It's a lot of fun.
Okay. And you said this is your first. This is your first Shakespeare play.
No, I've done a few.
Okay. What other plays have you been in?
I did. Well, I actually did a previous version of Midsummer. I played one of the mechanicals.
Okay.
I played Starveling. I played Viola in Twelfth Night.
Okay.
Which you played Mariah.
Yes, I
and
did.
That was
Juliet was Juliet in Romeo and
Oh,
Juliet.
okay.
And
under my mother's direction.
I see. So
and
you.
then she was also in.
Oh, Taming of the Shrew for Albany Civic.
Okay.
That was for Albany
Who did you
Civic
play
Theater.
in that?
Kate.
All right. So you got a lot of experience with Shakespeare.
A bit.
Now, is this the first you've directed your daughter before?
Oh yes.
All right. So what is
Yes.
that like?
I call her Mrs. King.
Okay.
And,
Doing,
I'm used to it. It's a lot of
Okay.
fun to direct her. But Juliet is very respectful of my role, and she was about 6 years old when I directed her in a children's theater production of Beauty and the Beast, and she played. What did you play?
500-year-old dragon
Okay.
named Mickey. I had the whole thing, a costume with the tail and the scales all down, and it
Yeah,
was.
so we've been doing this a
all right.
long
You've been
time.
acting your whole.
Yeah, and we've gotten a rhythm out of this.
Okay.
But my relationship with all the actors is very fine. It's very friendly. It's not, for me anyway, it's a collaborative effort with all the actors. I really, hope that they all feel that they're part of the production.
And you've been directing there for 20-something years? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right, now you said early in the very beginning here, you're going to have this play be sort of family friendly.
Oh,
So
yes.
why don't you tell people watching, you're going to encourage people to bring kids?
Oh, yes.
Because, I think sometimes people are, I don't say they're scared of Shakespeare, but they think it's, like I said in the beginning, they think it's a different language, but it really isn't.
It really isn't. It's very accessible. There are a lot of good belly laughs in this show. And you agree with me?
Oh, absolutely.
We've been having fun really discovering, as Kevin said, where the humor is
Yeah.
and how far we can push it. So
Okay, well,
I
that's-
think the children will really enjoy
Okay,
it.
so that's good. All right. So Midsummer Night's Dream, it's going to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, May 6th, 7th, and 8th, 13th, 14th, and 15th, 20, 21, and 22. And that's what time does it start?
8 o'clock.
At 8 o'clock.
Well, the Sundays are matinees. They're
Okay.
at 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. You don't do 2 on Saturday.
No,
All right.
we don't.
Okay, that's for the professionals. All right, now we're going to switch up a little bit. We're going to be talking a little bit about next season at Albany Civic. They do 4 plays a season, and Juliet's one of the directors. Next season, they're going to be doing Mrs. Warren's Profession by George Bernard Shaw, of course. Faith Healer by Brian Friel. Rumors, a Neil Simon play. The Farnsworth Invention by Aaron Sorkin. Now, is he the guy that wrote West Wing? Or no, who am I thinking of?
Aaron,
The author of this play. No, that's not him? Okay, I thought that was him.
it might be.
So you're
Yes,
having...
I think it is.
It is. That's what I thought.
Yes.
I thought that was. Okay.
Yes.
So this show is going to be on in the beginning of May, but Carol wanted me to mention that Albany Civic is open to anyone, if they want to be in a play, to audition. And they also always need volunteers for almost anything, ushers, lighters, stage crew, props, whatever. On the website, it'll be on the screen. You can call them. So Juliet here is going to be directing Mrs. Warren's Profession next year. So let's talk a little bit about that. Have you directed before?
I have.
Okay. And again, how was this season chosen? I think you're really going for some big shows here. How was this season chosen?
Well, this play was chosen before the director. They wanted to do, Albany Civic really wanted to do this play, and asked me if I would be willing to direct.
Okay.
And I was very willing. It's a wonderful play.
Yes, it is a good play. It's a a play from what, the 1890s or
Yeah,
early
I think so.
1900s.
Yeah, around there.
Still relevant today, I think.
I believe so.
With hypocrisy and everything. But so there's auditions for this play on May 9th and 10th down at Albany Civic, and if you go to the website, you can read and do that. So what are you're not preparing? This is May. You're not preparing already for this, are you? Or-
Indeed, I am.
All right, so you guys are like the
Assembling,
pros here.
as you've mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
assembling the crew is the
Okay.
main preparation. But I wasn't 100% familiar with the play when I first, I'd read it.
Yeah.
But now at this point, it's really just reading and rereading the play and starting to build a vision of how I want the play to look, both in terms of the set and the lights, but also in terms of the characters.
Okay.
Because this is a very character-driven play.
Well, why don't you give us a little? What would you say this play is about? I mean, I guess 10 people
You
could
see-
read
yeah,
it. I think 10 people could read it, and you get 10 different answers.
Right. Well, it comes out right in the very first scene that there's a hypocrisy that exists, sort of the veil of society versus what's really going on. And I think that's kind of the theme that drives the play. There are other themes. There's a mother and daughter relationship that needs working out. That you could ask 10 different people, does it get worked out? And you'll get 10 different answers. And friendship and companionship and what that means. But I think the overarching theme is what's really going on in society versus what we see.
Yes, and in a typical Shaw play, there's a lot of dialogue, a lot of
Indeed.
speeches and everything. Well, you've been there 20 years, Carol, over 20 years. Has Albany Civic done a Shaw play before that you can remember?
Yes, and I can't think.
Okay, but it's not, most community theaters don't really do Shaw too much, do
Right,
they, or-
right.
Okay.
But we decided that we really wanted to do. We try to mix the classics
Yeah.
with the more modern plays, and so we think we have a nice mix, comedies and dramas
Yeah.
and so forth.
Well, so that play is going to be next September, and again, that'll all be on the website. So, Carol, you're going to be directing next fall in September. Also in September. I'm sorry, this plays in November. I'm sorry. You're going to be doing Faith Healer by Brian
Yes.
Friel.
Yes.
Now, this play is 3 characters, 4 humongous monologues. What can you just give us a little bit about what this play is about?
It's about a man who claims to have healing powers, and he wanders with no specific destination through Wales and England, performing tent shows, basically,
Yeah.
where he meets with varying degrees of success, and he travels with his wife and his manager. And the play, as you mentioned, is 4 monologues.
But there's only one person on stage at a time, right?
Yes,
So
that's
it's sort of
correct.
like, okay.
That's correct. And they tell the story of their wanderings and
Okay.
the different things that impressed them the most, the different things that happened to them and what happens in their own minds.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very lyrical tale. It's,
Now, do they tell different versions of the same incidents a lot?
yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
well, that'll be-
What their impressions were of
Okay.
each thing and
Okay.
of each experience. And it has that sort of Welsh otherworldliness
Okay.
about it. And the first monologue is the faith healer, and the last monologue is
Okay.
the faith healer. And you show through all these monologues the arc of his character.
And the 3 people are traveling around on the...
They're remembering. It's
remembering,
it's
okay.
a remembrance play, memory play.
Okay. So, and then next February, that's 2012, you're going to be doing Rumors, a Neil Simon play. I don't know that Neil Simon play. Which one is it's not one of the more famous ones.
Correct, but it's very funny.
Okay. Well, it's Neil
the
Simon, so.
Mayor of New York has just been, he's just been shot. He's shot himself, and all these people are going to try to explain what happened. He's the deputy mayor of New York.
You mean he shot himself, committed suicide, or he accidentally shot himself, like in the lake or something?
It's he tries to commit suicide,
Okay.
but does it very poorly.
Okay.
He just gives himself a flesh wound.
Okay.
And all these people are expecting the reporters to get there, these people at this, this house, summer house, and the reporters are about to descend on them, and they're all trying to think of what kind of a story they can tell. They don't want the reporters and the people to think he's inept. He couldn't even shoot himself properly.
Okay, so
I know. So, but they don't want him to seem like a dark figure who wanted to kill himself. So they're
Okay.
coming up with all these stories of how they're just frantic how they're going to explain
Yeah,
this.
okay. Oh, that sounds good. I mean, I always like when some of the community theaters do plays that by playwrights that people may not be familiar with. I don't think Rumors is done too often. I don't think. And then finally, next season, next May, you're going to be doing the Farnsworth Invention. Now, this is about the early days of TV or something?
Well, there are these two men.
And it's written by the guy who wrote West Wing.
That's
Okay.
yes, it is. It is. They are racing against each other to invent this new instrument called television, and they know that if they stop working for 1 second, the other guy is going to get to the invention first. So they're you know.
Okay, now is this a comedy or
It
a little
is.
of everything?
It is a little of everything, yes.
Okay. No, very good. So the actors we've had here today, Juliet and Kevin and Ashiya, are they going to be in your plays next year probably?
Oh, I hope so. I certainly hope so.
Okay, they're over here.
Yeah, and though they aren't on the board, they are part of the
Yeah, part of
ACT,
your-
Albany Civic Theater
Okay.
family.
All right, so any final thoughts? Either one you want to say about Midsummer Night's Dream? It's going to be this May, the first 3 weekends, over on 235 2nd Avenue, the old firehouse. Juliet, anything you want to add about trying to get people to come out and see this?
Oh, I just hope that people do come out and see it. I just want to reiterate what's been said already. Of all Shakespeare's plays, I think this is the most accessible. It's certainly the most
Yes,
fun.
this is-
And in terms of Puck, she is there to engage the audience and have them join in her fun. That's one guiding principle that I'm using in my
The
character.
people who come in to watch our rehearsals talk about how, in fact, said when you do some publicity, make sure people know just how funny the play is.
Yeah, so I think most
because people are sitting in the audience just watching a rehearsal and they're laughing hysterically.
We've been rehearsing for 2 months, and I still get laughs out of the stage manager every now and then with stuff she's seen me do 100 times.
Yeah.
Same line? Okay,
It's
well,
just
that's-
great. Yeah, no. Well, everybody's just having a lot of fun with it, too.
Oh,
Good.
yeah.
Okay, so
sure.
that is Midsummer Night's Dream at Albany Civic Theater this May, and it's family friendly and it's very funny. I've seen it many times. You almost can't go wrong. I don't want to jinx you, buddy. You almost can't go wrong with this
True.
play.
True.
It's a very funny play. So if you're new to Shakespeare, if you've never seen Shakespeare, or want to see a new production of Midsummer Night's Dream, go to Albany Civic Theater. One other thing, Carol.
Can I just say one thing, Joe? We do have a preview night for every one of our plays. It's the Thursday before the opening. So this
This will
May
be
5th.
May 5th.
would be a preview night. You don't have to pay anything for it. You can
That's
make
free.
a
Okay.
small donation to the theater if you want, but it's called our Pay What You Will night.
Well, this show starts on May 4th, so at least maybe a few people will watch. All right, well, thank you, Carol and Juliet, and
Thank you.
our other actors are sitting over here. Thank you guys for coming, and we'll see you next time on Getting to Know You.